Shri Gurudeva Datta. In the chapter 7, we come to know the importance and significance of the Shri Gokarna Kshetra, which is explained to us by various stories. Namadharak now asks Siddha Yogi, what are the benefits of visiting the Gokarna? He wants to know it. Siddha Yogi is only too pleased to narrate it, and he says, with a reference to various stories which are told by ancient rishis and sages, I would like now to mention about one such incident. He says that long ago in the Ikshvaku race was a king Mitrasha. This king was considered to be very noble, and he paid attention to the needs of his subjects and kingdom very well. One day he decided to go hunting. During the course of hunting, he came across a ferocious demon. He realized that this demon was not going to be killed by any of his ordinary weapons. So he flung a very dangerous weapon at the demon, which had the power to burn the demon to ashes. As he used this weapon to annihilate this demon, he quickly left the forest because he knew the repercussions of that would be very, very bad. The demon, before dying, called out to his brother very loudly and asked him to avenge his death. The brother now changed his form, and in disguise, he went to the king's palace and asked for a job of a kitchen attendant. Seeing his ability, he was immediately put to service, and he had gained the confidence of the king and many others at the palace too with his culinary skills. One day it was Mitrasha's ancestral dinner, that is, they had to have some food prepared for some ancestral rituals, and so they had ordered food that should be prepared should be of a various or a very different cuisine. The guest invited for this ritual was none other than sage Vasishtha. As all the sages sat in line for the ancestral food, this palace attendant served something on the plate of sage Vasishtha which enraged him. You could not believe what was served. It was human flesh. The sage was so angered by this that he got up with a jerk and he cursed the king for serving him human flesh on a day when his ancestors were supposed to be given some condolences. The king was also enraged because he said it was no fault of his. He did not know what was being served. He had not paid heed to it. And he tried to curse the sage Vasishtha back. But just in time, his wife Madhyanti, she interrupted and she consoled her husband, saying that one should not curse a sage or a rishi because the consequences of that would be very bad. The king had already taken water in his hands, which was supposed to be flung or sprinkled on sage Vasishtha for cursing him. He realized that he could not do it, so his wife advised him that water, which was having the mantra of curse, should be poured at his own feet. Mitrasha poured that water at his feet, and because it was called Kalmash, he was named as Kalmashpad, that is, one who takes the cursed water on himself. The sage Vasishtha was so enraged that he said that because you have done this, for this action of yours, I curse you that you become a Brahma Rakshas, that is a Brahmin ghost, and remain for 12 years in that state because of whatever you have done, and for the nobleness of your wife, I have also toned down the level of that curse. So for 12 years you will be out in the forest and you will be sitting on the tree, on the peepal tree, and you will be harassing people who pass by the forest. After 12 years, of course, your atonement is done. You can come back and you can resume your duties as a king with your wife. Very sad at all the turn of events, and whatever the consequences were supposed to be happening, King Mitrasha went away to the forest. He became a Brahma Rakshas or Brahmin ghost and harassed people or travelers who were moving through the forest. One day it so happened that there was a young newlywed Brahmin couple who was passing by the forest. Mitrasha, in the form of Kalmashpad, that is the demon, the ghost, jumped in front of the couple and caught hold of the husband and was ready to devour him. The wife pleaded with him. She said, "We are just married and We have not even started our life. So I beg of you to release or relieve my husband from your clutches. Whatever you want, I will give you. You can take my life if you want. Whatever else you want are your demands. I would try and see to it that they are fulfilled. She went even to the extent of telling that if we have a son, we will name him Kalmashpad after you. But the Brahma Rakshas, that is Kalmashpad, paid no heed to it. He devoured the husband, killed him, and threw him away in the forest after eating a few of his body parts. The wife picked up the bones and remains, made a funeral pyre. She also sat on the pyre, but before she set herself ablaze, she cursed this Brahma Rakshas, the king Mitrasha, who was now Kalmashpad. She cursed him, saying that even though 12 years of your curse will end, after that, even when you return as a king to your kingdom, you will not be able to have a family life with your wife. You will have no children thereafter. Saying so, she set herself afire and went sati. 12 years passed. The king was returning back to his kingdom. He had now been relieved of the curse of the sage Vasishtha. He came back, but his face told stories to his wife. She asked him, the queen asked him, why is it that even after 12 years of living your curse, you still don't look happy? You come out of it, now be happy and start your duties. We have to start our family too. It was then that the king said, it is not possible for me to have any physical relation with you because of the curse of the Brahmin lady. He narrated the entire incident. The queen lamented that after 12 years also, he still had another curse pending on him. And hearing about all this, they spoke to so many saints, rishis, munis of their kingdom, but they had no solution to this problem. Nothing could get them out of this curse. It was then that one day Gautam Rishi managed to visit the palace, and seeing the king and his wife with such forlorn faces, he asked them the problem. The king narrated the entire incident, and Gautam Rishi said, the only solution to your problem is that you go to Gokarna, which is supposed to be one of the most sacred places, have a darshan and do Rudra Dhyay there, that is, chant the verses of the Rudra, and you will be atoned of all your sins. This was when the king and the queen asked Gautam Rishi exactly what is the significance of Gokarna. He goes on to narrate about the incident which took place at Gokarna. He says that long ago there was a young lady by the name of Saudamini. She was young, beautiful, and of a marriageable age. Her parents were searching for a suitable groom, but finding no one, they were a little dejected. But in the meantime, this girl had become turned into a very beautiful young lady, and she had lot of tendencies, sexual tendencies, which were not noble. Somehow the parents, realizing this, were quick enough to get her married to a groom from a neighboring village, but unfortunately for them, groom died within a few months of marriage. Saudamini was now fully into an adultery form of her behavior, where she would entice young men to her house. She would do all sorts of things which were not thinkable of. Her parents, realizing this, threw her out of her house. Her relatives cut off relations with her, and she was left on the streets, but she still did not come out of her behavior. She would get involved with business class men, she would get involved with so many other men, and finally, due to old age, she died. When she died, it is said that the Yamadut, that is the attendants of Lord Yama, came to take her away to hell. And she had to face a lot of misery in hell because of her adultery behavior. She was again born in the next birth into a family which was very poor, poverty struck. She was ugly. She was also left to fend for herself. She had parents who had no love for her. She was always looking on for food, and the food she would get was the leftovers from others. So this was a miserable condition in which she lived. As she grew a little older, she was inflicted with leprosy, and it started spreading all through her body. Her family, her relatives, everyone threw her out of house. Her full body with leprosy-ridden pus and abscess from all pores of her body. She moved walking all over from wherever she was, and she entered Gokarna. Gokarna Kshetra is supposed to be also called as Mahabaleshwar, which is a very central focal point for all Shiva worshippers. She entered here with no feeling of devotion towards Shiva, but only because she was dragged on by life. She came here, she entered Gokarna. So her entrance into this holy place was a very significant point. Secondly, what happened was she didn't realize that she was unknowingly worshipping Lord Shiva. Now let's see what exactly happened. Gautam Rishi said that as he was watching her, because she was the only woman who was sitting there with her pus and blood all oozing out of her different wounds and leprosy-ridden wounds. He saw that slowly she took a deep breath and she died. As she died, he realized that the Yamadut, that is the attendants of Lord Yama, were there, but shooing them away or sending them away were attendants of Shiva. So he was surprised that this woman who is she's afflicted with leprosy, she's also having so many issues, she had such a bad childhood. If this woman is being taken by Shiva to his abode, that means there must have been some good karma that she had done. So what was it? At that time, he realizes that there is her past incident that he talks about. One of the sages who there, he tells him that this lady had entered Gokarna on a day which was Mahashivratri. On that day, as she was sitting begging for food, no one gave her anything to eat because it was a fast. So someone threw a bilva leaf as you call it, he threw it at her and said, "Eat this if you want." They joked at it. She took up the piece of leaf, smelt it, and she threw it far away from her. But fortunately for her, and rightly so, this leaf flew and fell on the shivling. That shivling was being worshipped that day by so many priests of the temple. This leaf went and fell on the shivling, the phallus of the Shiva, and she got to even see the puja which was performed by the Brahmins of that place. So the two more points which added to her advantage, one was she offered the bilva leaf at the shivling. She could see the puja or the worship of Lord Shiva. And third and most important thing, she did not get any food to eat. So unknowingly, she had even fasted for it. So all the three things happening to her at that point, on that day, served her an advantage of being taken to the abode of Shiva by the Shivadut instead of going to hell. So she actually went to heaven. So Gautam Rishi tells the king Mitrasha that if this woman who has committed so many sins all through her life, if she can be freed from it by just one day of fast at the Gokarna Kshetra, I advise you to go there and do your Rudradhyay, which is loved by Lord Shiva himself. So read those verses, and he is Bholenath, that is, he is one who loves simple devotion. He will be pleased with your services, and he will relieve you from your curse too. Mitrasha and his wife Madhyanti went to Gokarna Kshetra. They did as instructed by their guru, that is Guru Vasishtha, and after that they came out of that curse and they lived happily only because of their visit to the Gokarna Kshetra. This is the significance or the benefit of visiting Gokarna at Mahabaleshwar, which is in Karnataka. We'll see further significance of this Gokarna Kshetra in the further episodes to come. Shri Gurudeva Datta.